In this video, we're going to be talking about how to solve proportions. Now, in the last video, we talked about what proportions were, and now we're going to be encountering proportions that are missing values. So we're going to learn how to solve them and find missing values in proportions. So the two questions we want to answer: how do you solve proportions, and how do I use proportions to solve real-world problems? So here I have three proportions. You'll notice there are missing values in each one of them. And one of the strategies we can use to solve a proportion or to find a missing value in a proportion is to use horizontal relationships, or what I call horizontal relationships. Or what we're going to do is we're going to look for relationships between the ratios. So from one ratio to the other, we're going to look for some type of multiplication or division relationship. So for example, in this first one, I noticed there's a nice relationship between the 4 and the 8 here in the numerators, and you'll notice that 4 times 2 is 8. Now, if these ratios are equal, it would be like I was scaling this ratio up. So I would have to do the same thing to the denominator. The denominator also has to be twice as big as the other one. So 5 times 2 is 10. So that tells me the missing value in this proportion is 10 as well. So 4/5 is equal to 8/10. So again, we're looking between the ratios for some type of multiplication or division relationship. In the next example, if you look in the numerators, you'll see there's a relationship here from 30 to 10, and we can divide 30 by 3 to get 10. So that means the same relationship must exist between the denominators. 45 divided by 3 will tell me what x is, and 45 divided by 3 is 15. So my missing value in this proportion is 15. So 10/15 is equal to 30/45. And then again, in the last one, we see between the denominators, 55 divided by 5 is 11. So the same thing must be true here in the numerators. I take 35 and divide it by 5, and that gives me 7. So 7/11 is equal to 35/55. So we can use horizontal relationships or between ratios relationships to find missing values in proportions. Another strategy would be to look vertically. We can look up and down between these ratios or within these ratios to see if there's also a multiplication or division relationship. We can look within the ratios to see if there's any type of special relationship. So in this first example, we see here the numerator and denominator are related by a factor of 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So the same thing must be true in this ratio. The numerator times 3 will give me the denominator, and 4 times 3 is 12. So 3/9 is equal to 4/12. So that helped me find the missing value there. In the next one, again, there's a nice vertical relationship here. 12 times 2 is 24, so the denominator is twice as big as the numerator. That same relationship must be true here. And 7 times 2 would give me my missing value, which is 14. So 7/14 is equal to 12/24. And then in the last one, if I take the denominator divided by 8, 16 divided by 8 is 2. So the same thing must be true in this ratio. 56 divided by 8 would tell me what the numerator is, and that again is 7. So 7/56 is equal to 2/16. So another strategy for solving proportions is to look for vertical relationships. But what if neither one of those relationships exists? So look at this example. 3/8 is equal to 5 over x. Vertically, it's not a nice multiplication or division relationship, and horizontally, it's not a nice multiplication or division relationship. So we can use a third option here, and we can use our cross products. Now remember, cross products say that if two ratios are equal, so are their cross products. The cross products are going to be equal as well. So that helps me because I know this cross product is 40. 8 times 5 is 40. So I know that this cross product also has to be 40. So x times 3 has to equal 40. So now I'm thinking, what times 3 would give me 40? Well, to answer that, I'm going to use division. 40 divided by 3 will tell me what x is, and 40 divided by 3 is 13.3 repeating. So that's the value that I was missing in my proportion. So that was a kind of an ugly decimal value there. So that's kind of why we had to use cross product, because there wasn't really a nice multiplication or division relationship anywhere else. So now we can use cross product. So let's look at the next one. Vertically and horizontally, not great relationships here. There's no multiples of or factors of 8 anywhere here. So I'm going to use my cross products. And I know this cross product, 20 times 10 is 200. So I know that this cross product also has to be 200. So now I'm thinking, what times 8 would give me 200? To answer that question, I'm going to divide. I'm going to take 200 divided by 8. And 200 divided by 8 is 25. So there's my missing value in that proportion. 10 25ths is equal to 8 20ths. And then again in the last one here, I'm going to use cross products to solve this. 5 times 2 is 10. So I know this cross product also has to be 10. So I'm thinking 8 times what would give me 10? Well, to answer that, I'm going to use division. 10 divided by 8 will give me my answer. And 10 divided by 8 is 1.25. So that's the missing value in this proportion right here. 1.25 over 5 is equal to 2 over 8. So now we have 3 strategies or 3 tools that we can use to solve a proportion if there's ever a missing value. We can use horizontal relationships, looking between the ratios. We can use vertical relationships, looking within the ratios. Or if neither one of those work, we can use cross products. So one of those 3 strategies will always work. Actually, they'll all work, but sometimes one is easier than the other. So how do we use these proportions to set up and solve real-world problems? So let's take a look at this one. 6 oranges cost $2.34. How much would it cost for 8 oranges? So here, I don't have a proportion set up, so I'm going to have to create my own proportion. So I've got 2 ratios here, or we're going to make a comparison between number of oranges and cost. So the first piece of information is 6 oranges is $2.34. Every 6 oranges would cost $2.34. How much would it cost for 8 oranges? So I have oranges in the numerator, so I'm going to keep oranges in the numerator. 8 oranges, and I don't know the cost, so I'm going to put an X there. How much would it cost was the question. So here I have a proportion, 2 equal ratios, and now I'm going to use cross products to solve this. I'm going to take 2.34 times 8, which is 18.72, and x times 6 also has to be 18.72, since I know their cross products have to be the same thing. So now I'm thinking, what times 6 would give me 18.72? Again, to find out, I'm going to divide 18.72 by 6. And I get 3.12. So my missing value here is 3.12. So that tells me that 8 oranges cost $3.12. So using a proportion there to solve this real world problem. Let's try another one. A recipe for a salad that serves 9 people uses 3 cups of croutons. How many cups of croutons would you need if you had to serve 12 people? So again, I'm going to make a comparison here between people and cups of croutons. And I know that this rate is 9 people for every 3 cups of croutons. And that's equal to 12 people for how many cups, I don't know. It's an unknown amount, so I'm going to use X. So again, I have people in the numerator, cups in the denominator. As long as they're the same, they'll be fine. So here there's a nice vertical relationship, or within ratios, 9 divided by 3. So if you take the number of people and divide it by 3, that tells you how many cups of croutons you'll need. So 12 divided by 3 would tell me how many cups I need for 12 people, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So it would take 4 cups of croutons for 12 people. Solved. And then lastly, you earned $42 working at a store for 4 hours. How much would you make if you worked for 12 hours? So again, we're making a comparison of $42 and hours, 4 hours. So that's the rate I'm going to write. $42 every 4 hours. And we know that has to be equal to how many dollars, I don't know, for 12 hours. Okay, dollars on top, hours on bottom. And here there is a nice horizontal relationship, or between ratios relationship. The number of hours was tripled. So hours times 3, or 4 hours times 3 equals 12 hours. So the amount of money I earn also has to be 3 times as much. So 42 times 3 is 126. So you would make $126 in 12 hours. So our missing amount there was $126. Okay, so 3 strategies for solving proportions, finding missing values in proportions. Look for vertical relationships, horizontal relationships, or use cross products. And then we can set up and solve proportions to help us solve real world problems.